Hey everyone, welcome to Tent Talk, the Farmers Market podcast. This is the show all about farmers markets, how to increase your farmers market business success, and in the current climate, how to maximize safety while providing people fresh food. Whether you're a farmers market manager or a farmer or food producer selling at farmers markets, this is the podcast for you. On today's episode of Tent Talk, we're talking about some of the resources available to each of you as we deal with COVID-19 concerns. Hey everyone, I'm one of your hosts, Bridget Myers, and I'm a longtime farmers market manager here in San Diego, California.
And I'm Kat Fields-White, Director of San Diego Markets, still an active farmers market manager some weeks, founder of Farmers Market Pros, and host of the Farmers Market Pros community.
And I am co-host Justine Marzoni-Mead. Welcome back to Tent Talk. So this week, again, we're talking about concerns surrounding our current public health emergency. This is a very consuming topic that we're all dealing with, and everybody in the farmers market world is being impacted: farmers, food makers, and market managers. Before we jump into our topic, we just want to let you guys know of, as the conversation goes, we are taking this situation very, very seriously. It's something that we're all implementing into our markets week after week. But we probably will make some jokes just because we have to get through it. You got to laugh so you don't cry, right? So that's our disclaimer before we jump in.
Yeah, we know it's a serious situation, but we're just not too serious sometimes, especially when we're dealing with heavy stuff. We got to laugh. So we're still plugging away here in San Diego. As you know, we're farmers market managers as well as podcast hosts. And we just got our largest market reopened, although it's no longer a large market at all in any way. But we have been open now for 2 weeks in a row. And if you follow us, you know that that's been a bit of a roller coaster, and that the county closed us, and then the county opened us, and then the city closed us. And it's been kind of an up and down swoop. The city has allowed us to open. Our permit actually gets approved on a week-by-week basis, if you can imagine the whiplash inherent in that. And they've given us a lot of really strict guidelines, some of which, of course, we knew it was coming from the state, it was coming from the county. It's something we would have implemented as just good sense. And then some of it's been what seems to be sometimes a bit more random and more about the optics than anything else. I think they want us to get the message across to people that this is a serious situation and that coming to the farmers market should not be fun. And I have to say that after a few weeks of dealing with this, even though it puts some of our vendors, even some of our farmers, in a really bad position because they can't sell. We, for instance, cannot sell flowers at our market. This was really frustrating because as a market manager, I'm the mom. I'm in charge of protecting all of our chicks and making sure that they stay successful and that they don't lose their businesses or their farms. But in fact, the city's tone on this has been pretty right on. Because we have to explain this situation to everybody that comes to the market. We have to tell them that they have to stay apart from people, even their families. The couples can't stand closer than 6 feet to one another inside the market. I think if there was more of what looked like luxury items or discretionary purchases or frivolity, it might make that even harder, because it's hard now, even with the market that we've got that's got a total of 20 farmers. Each stand spread a minimum of 15 feet apart, 22-foot aisles, clearly much safer than shopping at a crowded grocery store in narrow aisles with a lot of people around. But it's not having the fun in any way probably helps us a little bit in convincing people that we're really serious about them doing exactly the opposite of everything we've ever told them to do. Don't linger, don't say hi, don't chit-chat, don't have a good time, just get your groceries and get out. I mean, Justine, wasn't it amazing so Justine was at the market with me yesterday all day. And it was just amazing trying to walk that tightrope between being welcoming to people and scolding them and reminding them that they had to follow the rules, or we certainly would not be approved to open the next week.
Yeah, it was funny. I was telling people, like, shop and go home. And I don't know, we've talked about this last week or on our last podcast, but it is just so weird to have to implement all these rules that you would never normally say as a market manager or as a vendor, and thanking people for shopping, but also being like, get out of here once you have your groceries. And So I don't know. It just kind of seems like a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah, we've never told people to like get out of here at the market. Like that's the complete opposite. We're always saying like, please come, please stay for a long time. Like, please hang out, please talk for a long time with each individual farmer and ask them what their growing practices are and ask them where they get this and can they do this and how to cook this. And now we're like, hurry up and don't talk to anybody and just point at your produce and you all are wearing masks, so don't even talk to each other. Just put it in the bag and then leave. So it's all very opposite. And someone commented on our social media yesterday. I don't know if anyone was actually doing it at the market, but they said, "Oh, they're working it so well, and you come down and they're hurrying you along. And there's a lady walking around with a stick, and she'll whack you with it if you're too close to somebody." I was like, Is Cat whacking somebody with the stick?
We actually do have 6-foot poles to illustrate to people the proper distancing. We do not whack. I think that's some weird Catholic child fantasy of Paul Tucker.
Maybe if you did it to a couple people, though, people might take it even more seriously. Yeah. But yeah, it's very, very opposite of everything we've ever kind of talked about, making farmers markets into places where you do come out and you hang out for a long time and you stay. And now it's just,
it's kind of like when you're in junior high or high school and they have opposites day.
Yeah.
You're supposed to do everything backwards. And I'm combining that now with that thing about where your mom tells you, if you keep making that face, it's going to stick that way. Like, I'm sort of nervous now that we're going to convince people that they can't stay. They can never have fun. They shouldn't come if they're not planning to seriously shop.
And don't bring anybody with you.
Yeah. Don't bring anybody with you. Certainly don't shop with a friend or your loved one.
Yeah. It is kind of fun though. Yesterday there was maybe at 8 or no, the market opened at 8. So maybe at 7:40, there are already people lining up. And it is kind of fun just because you get to see each person that walks into the market.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And normally it's just, these just droves of people and you can't really see everybody, obviously, because it's so busy. But in this instance, there's one person in, one person out. So you really get to kind of make a connection with every single shopper from a distance. So I don't know. I still had a great time interacting with people, even in a kind of a Margaret Atwoody way.
I did. I found that too. I was looking at it. It was amazing because if we look at, since our farmers have to record their sales for load lists for the ag department, we don't usually collect sales figures except for farmers, but I'm familiar with what farmers sell. And so we've got this really tightly crunched down market, clearly way less customers at the market than usual, but our farmers are down by maybe 25%, some of them 30, some of them 15.
Yeah, it feels like almost like a rainy day, like how we always say that the rain kind of keeps all the people who just come out there and get a lemonade and take pictures all day and listen to the music, and really only the serious shoppers come out. That's kind of like how it feels now. It's just the people that are there to shop. Everyone in line is going to buy things, that for sure. Whereas on a regular day, there's a lot of people just milling about the farmers market, and not everybody who's there is necessarily buying something, or like I'm there buying something, but I have a couple friends with me and a couple kids and they're not buying things. So it's 5 bodies, 1 shopper. Whereas now it's 1 body, 1 shopper, and every single person who's there is going to buy stuff. So it feels a little different.
Yeah. And it was kind of a drastic way to do it, but we finally eliminated dogs at the market.
I know.
Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
Worldwide pandemic, whatever.
In the future, we're going to gate the whole market, and we're going to say, you cannot bring your dog in here.
Much as it's exhausting to manage that gate, I was thinking yesterday, well, this is actually kind of cool. The market's gated. We're getting an accurate count of how many people are coming through. Maybe we should just gate it all the time and charge $1 admission, and then we'd never have to have any problems. True. That's how we recoup all the money that we're losing by running this market right now. So.
I mean, honestly, what if we could put a tip jar on the info booth?
That could be a good idea, because I know a lot of you out there are in the same position we are. If you are able to operate markets, if you're doing a drive-through market, if you're doing any of the variations out there right now to just survive and keep going and keep supporting our farmers, that it's very difficult to do that in a way that even covers costs. So for us, our markets actually operate as community fundraisers. We open the markets in partnership with business improvement districts or Main Street organizations. And in addition to covering all of our own costs, that's always part of our requirement, we also have some money left over at the end of the month that goes into the community associations, and they use those for planting flower pots that go in the corners in the neighborhood, and for power washing the sidewalks and doing all the things we need to do to maintain communities, hold other events in the parks, or trick or treat on the street for the kids at Halloween that don't have any source of funds. Our market income supports that. And we're not able to do that right now. We're actually losing money each week because we need so many more staff members to monitor entries and exits, to monitor the street and make sure that people aren't getting too close to each other. We have very, very few booths at the market, and it's all farmers who have typically been subsidized by prepared food vendors or crafts vendors, and we don't have any of those now. So I know a lot of you out there are struggling with that, and we're going to dig into that whole conversation and topic in upcoming episodes, but it's something that we're all going to have to tackle, I think.
Yeah, a lot of people are asking about our weekday markets too, and I know that we've discussed if we can make those function, but it really is a matter of, the market management staff has to be funded in some way, and everyone's staff dynamic has changed, and they're not fully staffed, and people are asking us, oh, can you list every single thing that every farmer is selling, or can you put boxes together, or can you distribute this list, or our other vendors are saying, can you please put together a website or put together a list and get it out to where people can find us online. And these are all things that we really, really want to do. And we really want to support all of our vendors, and we want to make sure all of our shoppers get all the items that they need. But our business is also running on a thin or invisible margin where we don't have income coming in. Our income comes from zip.
Au contraire.
Yes.
Going the other direction. Savings are going down.
It's going down. We're in the red. So in order, and obviously we want to work hard to make sure that we can get back on our feet when everything is getting, building back up to normal. But I don't know if the general public and even some of our vendors kind of understand how our operation works, is that, our income comes from lots and lots of vendors and farmers being on the street, and seeing how 2/3 of our markets have absolutely zero vendors and farmers on the street. That money's out, and the Saturday market has been extremely pared down. And so we're working with what we have here. And I think as market managers, and other market managers, getting that word out without saying, we're not making any money. Our business has been completely obliterated, and kind of having that kind of messaging, which is really negative, kind of explaining to people, yes, it's something that we'd like to do. We'd like to build a website where we can get all this information out. We'd like to support all of our vendors who can't be in the market right now, but that's just something we don't have bandwidth for right now. We're working, Kat is on the phone and emailing 24 hours a day with city agencies and government agencies and all those kind of things to get just permits kind of worked out. So that is just eating up such a large chunk of time. And so it's all those other things have to kind of fit in where they can. And a lot of things aren't fitting in right now. So kind of helping your vendors understand that, or as vendors and farmers kind of understanding that if you have information to get out, what's the easiest way you can get that to your market manager, tagging them in posts. So it's really easy to repost. That's easy. I'm good with that. But asking people to come up with whole systems for you, that's just going to be really difficult for right now. And that kind of stuff has to probably hang tight for a little bit.
And people don't realize that some of our social media posts when we first were working to reopen the Saturday market were, oh, I can't believe you're doing this. It's just about greed. It's like, dudes, it's not greed. It's going to cost us money to do.
Greed for what? We're so greedy for debt. We love debt
that's what
so
it
much.
Is.
Well, yeah, people put produce boxes together and deliver them. I'm like, with what time and money and whose gas are we using for the market managers to deliver all the items from the market to your house? Who's paying for that? Someone has to pay for it. It's just time and money. And, it's interesting thing to try to explain over social media, especially.
Well, and a lot of our staff, we consider ourselves essential. Farmers markets are essential. That's the hashtag we're pushing this week, folks. Farmers markets are essential. And so some of us are out there on the front line, but a lot of our staff is in the same position as everybody else in the world. They've got a fragile family member, so they're staying home. They can't work. They've got fear. There's a lot of the population is just fearful about going out right now. And that includes some of the people that work for us. And they just can't be out there on the street. Or we've got a Navy wife. And by the way, so if your spouse is in the military, the Navy owns you too. So she's not allowed to leave the house without a permission from them, and they feel like everybody should be in lockdown right now. So farmers market managers are also mostly dealing with really, really tiny staffs. Anybody that can be out in public is tough. And we're looking at volunteers, but same thing. We have to be sensitive to the fact that a lot of volunteers don't want to be out in the public right now because we've all been told we should stay home to stay safe. Yeah. So we really do feel like essential workers, and like certainly not as important maybe as nurses and doctors, but that we do have a responsibility to try and get people fed.
Yeah, people are saying, why are you opening? Just stay closed so everyone can stay home. And I'm trying to explain to people, like, how can you survive at home if you don't have food in your home? So this is why we're staying open in a smaller capacity. Come eat and then go home. So yeah, working that essential worker thing, it's like these people are essential out there, and our farmers are also risking, their health and safety to be out at this time. Like, no one knows, who's walking around with this or not. So considering them essential workers, and kind of thinking about, well, they're also working with the same kind of issues that everyone is. Do they want to come out? Do they have family at home to take care of? All their kids are home from school now, so that changes how much time they have out in the fields and all that kind of thing. So taking those things into consideration, and just being kind of diplomatic when you answer people on social media saying the farmers should just get in their car and drive around and drop up their produce at my door. And, no, all of our timetables have changed. Thank you.
Yeah. And it's interesting. We're lucky in California because our governor came out and said farmers markets are essential. And his initial statement when he was calling for a shelter in place, Kat, in your farmers market manager community, talking to other people who live in different states that have different governors, that have different politics and different views on how to handle this crisis, have you heard from other market managers that maybe are under the jurisdiction of the city? Maybe they're operated by a local government. How is this impacting other farmers market groups across the country?
Yeah, so and this has been actually one of the things that Farmers Market Coalition has been campaigning relentlessly for, is to get the CDC to make a statement, get the federal government to say markets are essential in a way that would apply to everybody. But that just hasn't happened. So each state is making its own call. And then the way states and counties and cities typically work for all kinds of rules, including this one, is that the state will make a call, and then each county and then each city is allowed to not make a call that's looser than anything that the state says, but they can make a call that's stricter. And the feds haven't said really anything about farmers markets or grocery stores for that matter. They're really taking the tact that state and really, really local governments should be the ones making these calls. And that actually makes our messaging even more complicated, because for us, for instance, the city of San Diego has very strict rules. And so we've been the only market so far that's been able to reopen in the city of San Diego. But the way the city's laid out, and I think this is true in a lot of cities, we have suburbs right next to us. 10 minutes over the bridge in Coronado, their market's open. And to the average eye, nobody understands that that's not still San Diego. Of course it's San Diego. It's where I go to the beach with my kids.
Yeah, San Diego County, but not San Diego City.
Correct. So Coronado is an incorporated city unto itself, even though that's where we always take our kids to the beach because it's the closest one. They're technically not in the same city as us. So they have a whole different set of rules. Up in North County, Vista is in the county. That market runs in the parking lot of the county courthouse, and they're open and they have no restrictions. They're actually selling prepared food. Up in Poway, that's a different city. They have restrictions that are similar to ours with just farmers. They allow more groceries. They allow flower farmers. We don't in San Diego. So it's all really complicated. And for instance, the governor of Washington, Jay Inslee, declared very early on, similar to our governor, that farmers markets are an essential part of the food distribution system. And he asked, as our governor did, that farmers markets do everything in their capacity to stay open. Well, the mayor of Seattle, who was understandably, Seattle was one of the early hotspots for COVID-19. They had visitors from Asia, and it turned into a thing in their nursing homes, and they had a lot more cases than anybody else very early. He immediately shut all the farmers markets. He just didn't want people having more ways to have contact with other people. So Seattle farmers markets are still closed, but the Bellingham farmers market, for instance, opened yesterday for the first time in a few weeks because they're a suburb. They're technically a different city.
Mm.
And they had the same experience as us. They got a lot of people on social media early on, very negative comments, generally based out of fear. Why are you bringing people together? This is a terrible idea. This is irresponsible. And I think now that they've opened, that's all died down, because once people see that we've made these huge changes in how we're managing farmers markets, people are really far apart. It really is a safer way to shop than in a crowded indoor store. Now, people are happy about it. They're really glad to have that fresh, nutrient-dense food back in their neighborhood and ready to go. And Justine, you were handling EBT at our market yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So SNAP, CalFresh, whatever you call food stamps in your area, that's a huge thing. Those are probably not folks that can afford to sign up for Postmates to deliver them a box from some grocery store.
Yeah.
They have EBT money that only can be spent in certain places, and they're getting a lot of benefit out of being able to come buy just as many quantities of fresh food as they need. They can't commit to a big box, and they can't use their EBT online. So that's a big deal, and it's an important thing for farmers markets to be serving. So a lot of state farmers market associations and Farmers Market Coalition are doing webinars. They've got a lot of resources for you. So there's a lot of ways to find places to get information you can use with your local legislatures and with your neighbors to remind them that hashtag farmers markets are essential.
All right. So we'll provide links to all these resources and more in this week's email newsletter. So be sure you're subscribed. Sign up at farmersmarketpros.com.
And that email newsletter, I know, is absolutely the opposite of everything we teach in every class we teach about having a consistent newsletter that comes out on a regularly scheduled basis on the same day of each week. Sometimes we get into stretches where it's like that, and then sometimes we're overwhelmed and we're looking at our email inbox with all the COVID-19 heads up, buy your tires on COVID-19 and do this about COVID-19. And it's just, oh my gosh, there's so much email. And I just don't want to add to that avalanche unless we've got something really good to say. And I've got the time to put it together in a way that will be valuable to you. So we'll be back on Tuesday. We'll be kind of consistent, but you'll pretty much hear from us when we have something important to say.
It's okay, because I don't know what day it is anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Does anybody?
Who does? Who does?
Definitely. And make sure that you join us in the Facebook group, the Farmers Market Pros community. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably in the farmers market industry, although I have heard some of my friends are out of work and listening to this podcast because they're bored. So hi, friends. But if you're in the actual industry and you want to have discussions with us about things that are working or not working at your markets, or seeing what other people are doing, then you can join our community. And there are 3 qualifying questions that you'll need to answer in order to be admitted, because it is for industry folk only. And then you can message us on our Instagram at Farmers Market Pros, or email us at connect@farmersmarketpros for more information as well. So reach out to us.
We're all in this together, just not too close together. Remember have a little patience. You're farmers. You've gone through droughts. Those don't get over with in 3 weeks. You've gone through, as market managers, moving markets or waiting for permits. In our instant gratification world, I know it seems like it's been forever that we've been in this mess.
Mm-hmm.
But really, it's probably going to take a little bit more time. And we all just need to sink into it, do our very best, take care of ourselves and our loved ones, and we'll get through it. We'll get through it together.
That's
just
right.
Not too close together.
That's right. All right, everyone. Thanks so much. Talk to you next time. Thanks for listening to Tent Talk. Please leave us a review on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you access your podcasts, and tell us how you are enjoying Tent Talk. Be sure to subscribe to our next podcast so you don't miss the next episode. If you want more farmers market tips and information, you can subscribe to our weekly newsletter at farmersmarketpros.com and follow us on Instagram at farmersmarketpros to exchange information and ideas with us and other farmers market professionals. Answer the 3 qualifying questions and join the private Facebook group, the Farmers Market Pros community. This podcast is produced by Farmers Market Pros, where passion meets profit. Today's episode was recorded and edited by Justine Marzoni Mead. Original music by David Mead. Thank you so much for listening.